Okay. Let's see. I think there might not have been audio there for a second with this live update. Okay, now I'm listening to it on my end, and it sounds like you can hear me talking. I apologize about that, everybody. But thank you to everybody who's joining me here. I'd love it if you'd hit that like button. Share this stream out with anybody who you want to get this weather information as well. But let's go ahead and jump into the latest overview here. I've edited this graphic just a little bit since yesterday's update, as we've got our winter storm progressing in as we go into the February 14th through 17th time frame. Overall, we're going to continue to be watching some snow being possible up here into parts of the Midwest as we go through the rest of the day into tonight. You've probably noticed it in some parts of Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. Some of this is going to spread over to Michigan, and then eventually we're going to see more of a snow threat over here into other parts of the Northeast U.S., as well as an ice threat as our winter storm picks up out of Saturday into Sunday there. We'll also see some wraparound snow, which is going to be the culprit for what I show you here with a lot of these blues into parts of Missouri, Illinois, over to Indiana, Ohio, you name it. These blues in these locations are likely going to be from that snowfall that's going to cap off the system, again, as we go through late Saturday and then into the early part of Sunday. The southern side of our system, I'm really concerned about flooding right here into some parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley and then stretching over into parts of the southern Ohio Valley region. To be more specific in terms of areas, that's going to include far eastern Arkansas, into parts of Missouri, and then on over here into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, and then back down to the southwest of that. I think we're going to have a threat for some significant severe weather out of parts of Texas into Louisiana, Arkansas, and then over into Mississippi, Tennessee, into Alabama, and we could even see some isolated severe weather still looking like a possibility as you come over here towards parts of Georgia in the Carolinas region. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the overview of this winter storm. Let me get a quick swig of water, and then we're going to get into the future radar timing for this system. All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and now do we have sound? Now do we have sound? Now do we have sound? Apologize for these sound issues, everyone. I must have forgotten to turn on the mic for all these different sources that I'm using here for this. All right, now everybody can hear me. I greatly apologize for that issue, everyone. Here we go. Let's start from the top with the timing for this system. As we go into the overnight of tonight, we're going to be watching some of the snow that we have into parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, northern Indiana, and then over into parts of Michigan, kind of breaking up. Someone said they can't hear me again. They might just be behind. Can I get some thumbs up in the chat, the live chat, if you're here with me on this live part of the stream, to let me know that you can hear me again? Okay, you do have sound. All right, that's good. So as we go into the overnight of tonight, we're going to be watching some of this patchy snow over parts of northern Indiana, parts of northern Ohio, up into Michigan. There's going to be multiple rounds of generally lighter snow through this kind of general northern periphery of the system. Then eventually our bigger snow is going to pick up in this zone here, far interior northeast, and then into parts of Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, etc. as we get towards the back end of this storm. Let's start here with the beginning of it, though. This is as we go. Sorry, I apologize for the cough, everyone. Crazy stream here. We've got freezing rain as we go into the overnight part of tonight, coming out of parts of central Illinois and then over into central Indiana. I think from Jacksonville to Lincoln to Decatur there in Illinois, over to Indianapolis and Shelbyville there in Indiana, some of these spots, even over to Dayton, Ohio, and Columbus overnight tonight. We're going to watch some brief freezing rain break out. Overall, it's not going to be a significant threat, but it can definitely cause some ice issues on roadways, and you want to make sure that you are exercising caution or just avoiding those roadways. It's a Saturday morning. If you don't have a reason to be out on the roadways, let's try to avoid, maybe the shopping that you might try to do in some of these areas in the early morning due to that brief ice that will move through. Back down here to the southwest of that, we're going to be watching rain continuing to develop back through parts of Kentucky into Tennessee, and then back on over here into Arkansas by that point in time. None of this severe, but eventually, as we go through the day, rain is going to continue to train, particularly over this area right here. You can see it, I'm circling it. As we go through the afternoon into the evening, even when we start to see our severe weather threat develop back down towards the southwest side of this storm, these areas are going to be consistently in the rain. So I want everybody who lives here in parts of Kentucky, Missouri, down here into Arkansas, Tennessee, points in between, to especially be watching out for that flood threat, that wherever we get these training bands of rain, I'm not even kidding, we could get close to 6 to 12 inches of rain on the high end. Somewhere in here we're going to see that. That's very concerning for flooding. I just want to get that out there to you. Meanwhile, up here on the north side of this system, current projection, this might not be exactly what it looks like, but parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, continuing with some on and off patches of snow as we go through the day Saturday. It's not going to be a full-time thing, but it'll be on and off through the day. And then we'll also be watching on over here into parts of Pennsylvania, and then into parts of New York, and then over into New Jersey, possibly some snow breaking out. But that's going to turn over to sleet and ice, and then over to rain from south to north as we go through the time frame here of our Saturday evening. Parts of central New York, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and down into Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. We'll start maybe with some snow even as we go through the evening hours, get a few inches, and then we just see the transition as the warm front pushes north over to sleet, then rain. Overall, that will mean that we're getting solid rain through the mid-Atlantic as we go through the day Saturday, and especially into the late day and the evening. Look, flood threat continuing to develop here with all this rain coming out of the Ohio Valley back down through western Tennessee. Also by this point in time, that's where we're going to be watching our severe weather threat breaking out. We're down here out of parts of Arkansas, far east Texas, into Louisiana, Mississippi, parts of west Tennessee, and then moving eastbound. We're going to watch a line of storms that could not only bring damaging winds, but also a risk for some isolated tornadoes. I think I'm going to try and kind of do a better update on all of this weather Saturday morning, so that I'm kind of covering everything that's going to happen here as we go through the weekend, and then I should be done with weather updates at least until probably late Sunday, as this storm will be the main thing on the radar through then. Notice here as we go out of Saturday night and into our Sunday, it looks like we're going to be watching some rain coming down on over here, possibly some severe thunderstorms even continuing out of parts of Alabama into Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then over into the southern parts of the Appalachians. And then this is when a lot of your winter weather threat starts to elevate on up here into parts of the Ohio Valley, into the Great Lakes in the Northeast. I think it's going to be questionable how much of this snow on the tail end of your rain that we get overnight Saturday night into Sunday, but it's certainly a possibility that we get some heavy snow to break out somewhere out of parts of Missouri and then picking up into Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, points north and eastbound up here to Michigan, Ohio. I think we're going to get a pretty decent winter storm here in eastern Michigan, because look at what's going to happen over the course of this event. I'm trying to cover all areas with this overview, then we'll focus more on the specific aspects. Michigan on and off snow, maybe brief sleet or freezing rain at times through Saturday, but then mostly snow, especially the further north you go through Michigan. And all of this continues even as the storm wraps around through at least mid-morning on our Sunday, where also even parts of central Ohio back down through Kentucky could get some breezy snow showers wrapping around the tail end of this system. By the way, through the day Sunday, not as much of a flood threat, but continuing to watch whatever rain and storms we have, continuing to push towards the east coast of the U.S. through the Florida Panhandle through Sunday morning. Things will be pushing east with the storms there. Same will go with this activity over here into parts of east central Georgia. Same goes into parts of the Carolinas, even up to the mid-Atlantic. And then notice up here into the interior northeast. This looks to be an all-out snowstorm with snow into interior New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then over into Maine. That's going to be fairly uninterrupted for a lot of the course of this event. And then things will start to wind down by the time we get here to the end of our Sunday evening. I apologize again for the cough. I'm going to continue to just kind of work through it here. Kind of comes on and off since I've had the flu here. Had it about a week and a half ago, and the cough lingers for weeks after, especially with this year's strain, so I apologize for that. But let's go ahead. Man, I'm telling you, what a crazy stream this is. Now we've got the sound back again. I'm telling you, I'm going to make a video update to make this forecast right for you tomorrow morning. So please be on the lookout for that. Mid-morning Saturday. Unless something changes, I'm going to really try to have an update out then. Can everybody hear me again okay now? I was just saying, apologize for the cough as well a second ago. Still having kind of the bursts of it now and then ever since I've had the flu. Okay, thumbs ups are back. I appreciate everybody for bearing with me. As I was saying, into our late Saturday afternoon, wind gusts are going to pick up from the south, upwards of 30 to 40 miles per hour down over parts of the deep south. That's going to be as we continue to look at our severe weather risk, kind of building up with these storms that we're going to get by the time we get through the evening time frame. From there, line of storms will push east, and then as we get into late Saturday, pushing into Sunday, that's when I think things pick up. Look at this. By the time we get to Sunday morning, we've got any snow that kind of wraps around the tail end of our system here into the Midwest and Ohio Valley. It will come with some 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. So even though we might not have a lot of snow on the ground and it's just going to kind of be blowing around with not much accumulation in a lot of these spots, especially further south, this is going to be some messy snowfall, and it's going to come with some gusty wind, so be on the lookout for that there. Storms pushing towards the east coast, and then look at the wind, how it continues to pick up here into the mid-Atlantic. Sunday's going to be breezy in these zones from the Carolinas up to Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Looks like wind gusts are going to be upwards of 35 to 45 miles per hour. And then on up here into the interior northeast, again, any weather in terms of snowfall that's continuing into the early part of Monday and out of the end of Sunday will have 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts ongoing in a lot of zones, and those will be even higher on up with elevation. I mean, the northern part of Maine, looking at possible 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts into our Sunday evening as snow's going to be ongoing, and it's going to be heavy. Let's talk about some of those forecasted snow totals right now. Again, I want to make another update to make this up to everybody who's struggling with me through this stream here this evening. But from now, when I'm doing this on Friday evening through our Sunday evening, looks like parts of Iowa could get a couple inches of snow, 2 to 4 in the blues. Same goes on up here into Chicago, Illinois. It's going to be on and off multiple rounds in some of these zones. Wisconsin, an additional upwards of 4 to 8 here in the eastern part of the state. Over into Michigan. Remember, Michigan's where we get multiple rounds, and then when the snow starts kind of wrapping around that back side, we're going to continue to be in the snowfall, so we could get closer to 6 to 12 in a lot of spots there, and it could be just on the north side of Detroit, some of the northern suburbs where we pick up closer to a foot of snow. I think it's questionable how much snow we get, and it even looks like my pin's being kind of glitchy here as well. Down here, it's kind of going to be iffy as you get into parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Don't expect a lot, but we're going to kind of have that wintry mix. That could also lead to this ice right here. So be on the lookout for ice as we go overnight tonight, Saturday morning, and then through the day. We're going to continue to watch ice be a factor here in some of these zones, into parts of New England as well. Ice going to be a factor through late Sunday. Excuse me, through late Saturday into early Sunday. Back to the snow totals, though. Looks like into parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island, into Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, at least a few inches of snow could be possible. But again, that's going to turn over to ice and then rain. Back here into parts of interior New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine is where we could get several inches of snow. And I think northern Maine is going to be kind of your winning spot for some of those heavier snow totals. By the way, I see a hope you feel better in the chat. I feel better. I'm just telling you, this cough lingering around is just so annoying to me. Because even on the streams where I make it through without coughing here, or videos where I make it through without coughing here recently, it's just, it all starts right after I finish recording. And my voice gets shot quickly, too. But in addition to the snowfall overall, this is just kind of an overall forecast, but generally the final forecast for what you can expect again from our Friday evening when I'm recording this through the rest of this event through late Sunday. Well, this isn't even really quite the full rest of the event. Let's look at the Euro model for the full rest of the event. Through early Monday morning, we could pick up to a foot of snow there into the far interior northeast, but most other areas got covered. Let's look here at this graphic that I made for you. Let's see if we can change graphics without losing my audio. Hopefully everybody can still hear me. Here's my severe weather forecasts. And this is what we're looking at down here into parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. This is my ONW severe scale. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen this before, this is my severe weather risk zone forecast. And it goes on a scale from 0 to 7. Obviously 0 being the lowest, 7 being the highest. We're as high as a 4. I'm projecting parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, into eastern Arkansas, parts of Tennessee, and Alabama to have the worst risk for not only damaging winds, but for some tornadoes as we get into our Saturday late afternoon into the evening. Those storms could be very dangerous, and again, the flood threat will be more elevated as you come out of there and then into some of these zones that have still some level of severe risk, but mainly that flood threat into parts of Kentucky, Tennessee. Storms look to be weaker, but still some scattered severe weather continuing into zones with the 2s and 3s. Over into Georgia and the Carolinas, and the severe weather threat could continue from there towards the coast with at least a level 2 threat as we go into February 15th, all the way up the coast from Florida to New Jersey. Again, the threat starts late tomorrow out of parts of East Texas, begins picking up along that lower to mid-Mississippi Valley corridor, especially the lower corridor, and then over to the East Coast from there. These storms will form a line, and damaging winds will probably be the main threat and what we see in the most zones. But again, I do think we could get some instances of the tornadoes as well, and they could be stronger tornadoes, possibly of EF2 caliber or greater. Let me jump over here. And this is going to be the last thing I do here on this stream. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments section down below after I finish releasing this update. And again, Saturday morning, I plan on having a final update on everything that's going to happen here, because it's really going to continue to evolve through the day. And then that's when things are going to pick up out of Saturday into Sunday for a lot of folks, as you can see here. Here's the severe weather threat. Again, flooding going to be a concern through Kentucky, parts of Tennessee with this rain that just lasts all day. But what we're going to see is as we go into our... let's pull this up. There we go. As we go into the afternoon and evening hours of our... Saturday. Man, I can't get my act together here. As we get into the evening hours of Saturday, looks like storms are going to pick up. We're going to start to see things push east. And again, these are those storms some point late afternoon into the evening. And again, this could become a nocturnal threat where parts of Tennessee into northern Mississippi back down to Louisiana have to watch not only the flood threat, but especially some of these storms And the cells that develop on the leading edge of our storms as well, these could be the ones that have embedded tornadoes and those kinds of risks. Wouldn't rule out the possibility that this turns into an extended damaging wind event that lasts into the overnight, even through parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, with isolated tornadoes, especially the further south you go along the line, down towards the Mississippi coast. Things will be rolling through around midnight to 2 a.m., for example, there. And even over through parts of Georgia and the Carolinas, gusty winds with the line of storms, but it looks like it'll start to weaken down possibly into our Sunday morning before more storms could pick up through the day Sunday up here in the parts of the mid-Atlantic, and those could even spawn some isolated tornadoes and damaging winds. But yeah. That's all I got to say for now. Again, Saturday morning, everybody mark the calendar. I'll let you know if something changes, but I plan for now on doing a final update on all of this. It's going to have similar information, but I should be better timing. And when I do a video, I can cut out the parts where I cough, and it can be more of a well-put-together presentation. So I appreciate everybody for bearing with me for this live stream. If you have any further questions, please drop them below in the comments section after it's over.